Hello students, welcome to this part 2 of introductory class of intellectual property rights. We were looking in the part 1, we have seen what do you mean by intellectual property and what are the legal options available with one person to safeguard their intellectual property. So these legal options, whatever is available, these are basically known as intellectual property rights. Now, based on what kind of intellectual property has been created, whether it is a machine, whether it's you have invented a trademark or something logo or some other thing. So based on that, it is decided what kind of right will be assigned to that particular inventor. So we have in the part 1, we have already seen what actually is patent, what is a trademark, and what is an industrial design. These three things we have seen, and the rest we will be dealing with in this part 2 lecture. Now in this part 2 we'll start with Semiconductor Integrated Circuits IC Layout Design Act 2000. Now every electronic items it contains an IC circuit, integrated circuit, which is considered to be as the heart of that particular or the control center of that particular electronic instrument. Now an integrated circuit basically, as you can see in this diagram, this integrated circuit basically consists of a transistor, other circuitry elements, certain wires which are connected with each other and embedded on the semiconductor board in a particular fixed pattern, so that this transistor, the other circuitry elements and these wires, they are integrated in such a way that together they are meant to carry out a particular circuitry function or a particular electronic function which results in the actual functioning of that machine or that instrument or that electronic apparatus. So the way in which these wires have been set, the way in which this transistor and other circuitry elements have been laid out on this semiconductor material, that creates a particular layout. And this layout, if it is unique, if that kind of layout, that kind of integrated arrangement consisting of transistor and these other wires and other circuitry elements, if that particular design or layout is unique and is not available in the domain, then definitely one can get itself registered, and the term of protection is 10 years from the date of filing or from the date of first commercial exploitation anywhere in any country, whichever is earlier. So that's a brief introduction about semiconductor and integrated circuit layout. So even if you design a particular layout or an integrated circuit layout, and if that is unique, that kind of design doesn't exist in the market so far, then definitely you can get it registered in your name. Next is geographical indication. That's another very interesting thing. Geographical indication refers to actually those naturally obtained or agriculturally obtained or manufactured goods or products which gain their reputation or which gain their quality, their name, their fame by virtue of a geographical location. So that means, okay, I'll give you an example. The best examples are Nagpur oranges, you can see here, Kolhapuri chappals, Darjeeling tea, Mysore silk, Kanjivaram silk, sandalwood, Mysore sandalwood oil, Mysore sandalwood soap. So these Nagpur oranges will only be grown in Nagpur, and these oranges get their flavor, their qualities, their taste, everything by virtue of the geographical location in which they are grown. This, if you take the example of Kolhapuri chappal, well, chappals are shoes are manufactured, but there are many national and international branded shoes and chappals available. But what's so famous with Kolhapuri, because particularly the raw material which is required to manufacture that particular chappal, or maybe the workers who know that stitching of that particular chappal, or the designs that are available, the handmade stitching, the workers who can do it, all these are possible only because these workers, that particular art of doing that or stitching, that particular art exists in that particular geographical location. So that good is manufactured only from that area. Darjeeling tea, if you try to cultivate Darjeeling tea in your courtyard or in your own garden, you might be living somewhere in south or somewhere in the central part or somewhere in the northern part, the same variety, the same flavor you will not get. We have tea gardens in Ooty also, but the flavor what the Darjeeling tea gives you cannot be obtained from the tea which is cultivated somewhere in Ooty or somewhere in south. So the quality, the name, the fame, the reputation, what that product carries, it owes it from the geographical location, or it has got that quality or reputation or brand because of it has been cultivated or it has been manufactured in a particular geographical location. The same cultivation, the same manufacturing is not possible if you move out from that particular geographical location. Nagpur oranges, if you try to cultivate Nagpur oranges somewhere in northern part, you will not get that, because there could be something in that climate, there could be something in that soil qualities which is present only in that area, which is giving that kind of flavor, that kind of taste to those oranges. So similarly with Darjeeling tea also, that some kind of it depends on those soil conditions and the climatic condition that is responsible for the inbuilt flavor and the taste of the Darjeeling tea leaves. So similar with Kolhapuri chappal also, probably the art of making that Kolhapuri chappal, the raw material that is required, that the stitching art that is required, it is only possessed by the people living in that area. So only people from that area can actually manufacture it. So when a product obtained naturally, obtained through agricultural or manufactured artificially, is only possible in a particular geographical location, because that product has a particular speciality, particular quality, particular reputation, and that quality and reputation comes from the geographical area. Because of a geographical area, then it is then that particular product is tagged as geographical indicator. I gave you some nice examples. There are plenty of such examples, and this is not given to a particular person, but it is given to a group of farmers or to a cooperative society. It is not given to a single individual. Now, Geographical Indication of Goods Act 1999, it is governed under this act, and the term of a GI, that is geographical indication, shall be for a period of 10 years, but may be renewed from time to time for an unlimited period of payment for the renewal fees. So it never gets ends, it can be renewed again and again, so there is no issue with that. The biggest advantage of geographical indication is that it gives a lot of boost to the farmers, it gives a lot of boost to the commerce and trade involved, and also gives a sense of protection and security to the farmers or to the manufacturers who are involved in producing a geographical indication product. Because if somebody is involved in the manufacture of Kolhapuri chappal in Kolhapur itself, in that particular region itself, and then somebody from other part of the country, from the northern part or from the southern part, prepares duplicate chappals and then labels it at Kolhapuri and tries to earn a benefit or tries to destroy their business, or say you are cultivating oranges from somewhere else and then you are putting the tag of Nagpur oranges just to increase your business from because of that name. So those protections are ensured, because if anybody is found to do that, then of course legal actions, legal provisions can be taken. So the farmers, the cooperative society who are involved in manufacturing or involved in cultivating such product, which is only possible in a geographical region and gains its popularity or gets its quality by virtue of that geographical location. Once you move out from that geographical location, now you are not going to get that same product. So this kind of protection gives them a sense of security and also helps them to boost their commerce and trade, because now throughout the world people will be knowing about Nagpur oranges, throughout the world people will be knowing about Kolhapuri chappals, about Mysore silk, about Darjeeling tea. So that itself sets a brand, that itself sets a brand name, and then that makes commerce and trade quite easy and smooth. So next we move to plant variety. Of course, plants are gift of nature, created by nature. Man has no involvement in creating plants. So but here plant variety means I can get some plants registered in my name. There is a separate law and there are separate books written on this on this aspect of law, but since this is an introductory class only and we are trying to understand the different legal options that we have to protect our intellectual property, we will just take this as a basic introduction so that we understand this legal option. So plant variety, plants are created by nature. Plants are a gift of nature. Mankind has no involvement in making plants, but those plants which are created by asexual method of reproduction, which are created by transgenic methods, transgenic plants, hybridization methods, that means then they did not existed, but it was the farmer or the scientist or somebody who cultivated, who breeded that plant through asexual method of reproduction, or maybe the biotechnologist have gave birth to a plant with new genes inside it. You have made that plant say the pest resistant plant, you have made it frost resistant plant, drought resistant plant by incorporating certain specific genes into it. Then you give birth to a new plants. Such plants can be definitely be registered, and you can definitely have the exclusive right to breed those plants exclusively. So of course there are a lot of other parameters that has to be taken into consideration, like as I have written here, that distinctiveness, uniformity and stability. These are the three main parameters to consider, which are considered while giving you the exclusive right under Plant Varieties Act. Distinctiveness means the variety that you have created should have a specific quality which will make it distinct from the other existing varieties in the market. If it has the same quality, same feature which is available in the already available varieties commercially, then your plant is nothing new. It's just a repetition of what is already known. So only one particular specific quality has to be present in the variety, new variety that you have created by asexual method, transgenic method, hybridization technique, which does not exist in the commercially available varieties. Uniformity and stability means that particular feature or that particular quality should be expressed in the plant uniformly in every propagation. Stability means first generation, second generation, the quality should be stable. It's not that the feature or the new quality that has been incorporated in that plant fades away after the first generation or after the second generation. It should not be like that. It should remain stable, and no matter how long the propagation takes place or number of times it is propagated, you get the quality expressed in that plant uniformly and in a stable manner. And registration is valid for 18 years from the date of registration for trees and 15 years for others. So one more specific point I would like to mention here, that the central government maintains a list of plants for whom, against whom this registration or this exclusive right cannot be granted, no matter whatever you do. So your plant which you have trying to create a new variety out of it, that plant should not fall in that particular banned list maintained by the central government. And plants which are produced by terminator technology, that is the seeds becomes incapable of germination after one generation. So those plants which are produced by terminator technology, they are also not eligible for giving registration under a particular person, or exclusive right for those plants cannot be given under this act. However, this is a this is a very lengthy law, and then, as I said, that a lot of other exclusive books are available for this. But as of now, for the purpose of introduction, we will learn that plants which are produced by asexual method of reproduction and transgenic method and hybridization techniques are eligible for being registered under a particular person for whom this right for breeding that particular variety of plant could be given. It could be a farmer, it could be a university who have carried out this breeding or carried out this invention, or anybody who has been assigned by the farmer to take the right in his name. So next we move to copyrights. That's the last one. Just before the copyright, whatever legal rights I have mentioned, they come under the industrial rights. So basically two types of rights exist, industrial rights and others. In the other section we have only copyright. So copyright is it's very simple to understand. You can from the pictures itself you can imagine that these books or whatever. Copyright indicates literature works, cinematographic works, music works, music recording, and all kind of work related with arts. So once you have created it, registration is not mandatory here because copyright is there in your chapter as a separate in your syllabus as a separate topic that there I will discuss in detail, in length. So here once a copyright is created, once you have written a story or a novel or a poem or a drama or something, musical recording, cinematography, some artistic work, some crafts work, once it is created, it's you get the ownership automatically. You don't need to getting it registered is not mandatory. However, if you get it registered, then of course the issues related to dates are resolved, because if two person they claim that I have created this literature and the other person is also saying that I have created, and the other person, three persons together, they are saying that I have created this literature, then how do I decide who actually has created it for the first time? So then during such conflict, date becomes very important to prove that who actually created this literature and who copied it. So then if you have got it registered in your name, then definitely that resolves the purpose, because then it will be there in the legal books to show that this literature work has been registered in your name. In this regard, a very practical example, I can mention that students, they generally photocopy the books. There are quite expensive books or books written by foreign author. They are all covered under copyright because the publisher has taken the copyright. Nobody else can copy the content of that book and then publish it in their own name. So we generally tend to take photocopies of the book. So that is allowed, because as long as you take use of literature material for the purpose of education, for the purpose of research, for the purpose of study, till that time is fine. But as soon as you start making revenue out of it, you have copied something from already available literature, and then you are printing that as your own book, and then you definitely you are infringing copyright. All these things we will discuss in the in length because copyright is mentioned as a separate topic. So as of now, so these in this class, in this introductory class, we have understood what is an intellectual property. Any output which is created from human creativity, human original thinking, human intellectual power, human mind power. And once something has been created, it is very important that you should tell the entire world that I have created it, I am the owner of it, and I should get the exclusive right to use this. In order to do this, in order to tell to the world that yes, I have created and I am the exclusive owner of it, then there are certain legal options available with you. Out of that legal option, depending upon the type of product that you have created, the type of intellectual property that you have created, whether it is an invention, whether it is a literature work, whether it is a semiconductor work, whether it is a new plant variety you have created, based on all these, depending upon the output that you have created, the particular right is decided that which should be assigned to you. So there are patent right, there are trademark right, copyright, then there are semiconductor rights, plant variety rights, so geographical indication. So all these are variety of rights which can be assigned to a particular person or to farmers or to a group or to a cooperative society based on the output that has been created. And the basic objective of all these rights is to make one person the sole owner or the sole user of it, so that that particular person can earn the benefits or can earn the dividends out of this intellectual property. So thank you very much. In the next class, we will look into further topics associated with the patent laws of Unit 5 in industrial pharmacology. Thank you very much.